Hey everyone, welcome to another video. Remember, if you love film or television content, please consider clicking that subscribe button because today I want to talk about something that I've been thinking about for a while, and that is the incredible third acts of Damien Chazelle films. So let's get into it. So this was originally going to be a spoiler review for Babylon, but I thought, why not lump the rest of Chazelle's filmography in there? So with that said, I will be talking full spoilers for Whiplash, La La Land, First Man, and Babylon. I will not be talking about Guy and Madeline on a Park Bench, Chazelle's debut feature, because I have not seen it yet, as it is pretty much impossible to find here in Australia. If you are Australian and have found the film, please let me know because I really do want to see it. Also, I have chapter markers for each film, so feel free to just skip around and watch it at your own pace and head to the movie that you are most interested in hearing about. With all that said, I think Chazelle is maybe the greatest ever in terms of hitting the strongest conclusion possible to a film. He builds the pieces so carefully and tells a story through music that feels almost similar to a play, and when we get those musical themes played to us in the third act with different context, it makes you reflect on how far these characters have come over the course of the movie, and I've always thought that reminder was extremely powerful.
This is incredible!
He always boils it down to the fundamental thing about each movie, which is a relationship. Whiplash, you have a fiery relationship between Andrew Neiman and Fletcher. When we hit the third act, they finally sync. A student so desperately wants to be the best, and a borderline psychopathic teacher who desperately wants to create the best. They hit a point in this moment where Fletcher realizes that he found his buddy Rich in Neiman, and the dialogue goes from pure vitriol to something a little more healthier. However, that's the thing. Dialogue is used very little, and that's the same with the rest of Chazelle's filmography in the third acts. A lot of this is communicated with the direction of Chazelle through the cinematography, as well as the musical themes and physical performances from the cast. Near the end of this, where Caravan, the song they are playing, comes to a close, and Neiman hits that incredible drum solo, Fletcher is encouraging him to keep going and starts guiding him on the right cues and when to slow down and speed up the tempo. After a brief moment, Fletcher goes to the background as the spotlight is all on Neiman, finally showcasing his greatness that he punished himself over the course of the film to achieve. And it all crescendos in this one meaningful look between Fletcher and Neiman as they both reach that harmony. It is a powerful ending, and you pick up so much without too much dialogue. We look at that relationship now between Mia and Sebastian in La La Land, in my opinion, the greatest film of all time. Their dynamic, similar to Fletcher and Neiman, is one built on passion. However, these two actually love each other. The heartbreaking thing that Chazelle communicates in the third act here is they lost each other in order to reach that dream that they care so much about. Mia and Sebastian are dreamers, and they would do anything to reach it. They both come to an understanding that there was no other option. They needed to really lose each other in order to get what they wanted at the end of the film, because all dreamers are selfish. How can you be there for someone so deeply and intimately when your sole goal is to reach that level of greatness? This understanding may rub people the wrong way because a lot of people in watching these kinds of films want them to get together in the end, and in this case they don't. But to me, it's a bittersweet ending because yes, while their relationship was incredible, that understanding between Mia and Sebastian is the sweet thing because they are both happy in the places they made it to. Once again, this is all communicated through absolutely incredible musical themes and stunning direction that shows what could have been if Sebastian had given up his passion. He would have had a family with Mia, and yes, he would still be happy, but he never would have reached that dream he set out for himself, which is absolutely heartbreaking. This way, they both get what they ultimately wanted. It is a stunning ending, and that look of understanding between Mia and Sebastian, in my opinion, is one of the most powerful shots ever in a film. It makes me feel something every time I watch it, and trust me, I have seen that film a lot of times. Now, we have First Man, which I think is Chazelle's most flawed film, and I think that is mainly because he didn't actually write it, but it is still great, and the third act is also mesmerizing in a very different way. To me, this will be the black sheep in Chazelle's filmography, because a story of Neil Armstrong and the moon landing is a little different compared to what we are used to from Chazelle. However, once again, this focuses on a relationship in the third act, which is the one between Neil and his daughter. One where I don't think he could properly grieve and let go, because he is grounded in a lot of the values that men had during that time, which is to keep things to yourself and not show any emotion. People found First Man boring because of that aspect. Gosling plays a character that isn't too expressive because Neil Armstrong, the real man, wasn't that way. He was a very analytical person according to what we know about him, and Gosling played that authentically.
It's very
That's
accurate.
very good.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan totally nailed that one. Dad, he didn't say a lot, and he certainly didn't initiate conversations that often, but he always listened very carefully.
When he is on the moon, firstly, Chazelle does two things, which are he showcases how much of an achievement the moon landing actually was and how powerful of a moment in history that was. When the doors open from the spacecraft and we see the moon for the first time, it goes instantly to IMAX, which feels so much different compared to what seems like a combination of 16mm and 35mm, which has a very grainy look to it. This sequence is absolutely stunning and has a lot of creative flair behind it. This sequence is mostly quiet, but at the end of his spacewalk, he drops his daughter's bracelet into one of the craters of the moon, which was his way of finally letting go and moving on with his life. It is a beautiful moment and is one of the few times that we get to see a more intimate side to Neil. From what I gather, this moment wasn't actually real, but I have read a few things saying that Buzz Aldrin saw a time where Neil kind of went off by himself for a moment, so who knows what actually happened. I think only Neil does. I will say, seeing as it hasn't been confirmed by anyone, it was a work of fiction, but I think it enhanced the film greatly.
Love that answer.
Something that lasts, that means something. Something more important than life.
Now we have Babylon, which if you haven't seen my personal 2022 Academy Awards video, you would know that Babylon is my film of the year. I have seen it twice now, and I think the ending, like the film itself, is really divisive. I think it was brilliant personally, and after a second watch and picking up a few more things, I think it's even more brilliant. Firstly, when I said in my review that the score in Babylon tells a story, it really does, because themes in the opening play again at the end, and it takes you back to a time that Manny, the central character here, remembers so fondly. Nellie Leroy, who was a talented actress, is now being played off as a parody in this new theatre, similar to Brad Pitt's Jack Conrad's last films, how he was laughed at because film kind of moved on without him. To Manny, this is a really heartbreaking moment where he was directly involved with trying to help her brand as an actress pretty much be now a source of comedy is a terrible feeling for him. However, he then sees Singing in the Rain on the screen, which is a big inspiration for Damien Chazelle. La La Land takes inspiration from it, and so does Babylon, because while they were being laughed at, those things that were considered a little silly when a lot of these characters were in their prime, and now huge inspirations for the future of cinema. They indirectly redefined the form, as we know from the beginning is something that is super profound to Jack Conrad. Also, in the scene with Jean Smart, she mentions how 50 years from now, when everyone is long gone, the images they produced on film will be alive forever, and people will feel like they are with a friend or a ghost when they are watching. And that is the exact experience Manny has in the theatre. He is reminded of a time with Nellie Jack Conrad and Sidney Palmer, and it provides a real cathartic experience for him. That is why we get a repeat of some scenes that happened earlier in the film. Now, with the last moments, we get a pretty sensory overload experience. The music is going insane, which plays off a little what Sebastian says in La La Land about how jazz is just chaos and there are all these competing ideas colliding, and it somehow forms incredible music. Justin Hurwitz does a similar thing here. There are moments of chaos as the colors are changing and we are getting all these snapshots of the past, because once again it goes into what Brad Pitt says earlier in the film about being printed off into history. For those who don't know, the colors are the process of the celluloid turning into film, so it is a little more purposeful than being an LSD trip, which a theater goer actually said during one of my screenings. It is purposeful and it was incredible. Now, for the on the nose thing, which I think makes this act really, really divided, it is the montage of all these films playing, from clips of A Trip to the Moon, The Great Train Robbery, 2001: A Space Odyssey, Terminator 2, and Avatar, along with a whole bunch of others. Once again, I think it is extremely purposeful, and more than a movies are magic scene, he is showing how these characters in an era that was limited by history and how they were laughed off at the end of their careers are responsible for the classics that came after it, because without them building up the film industry, these things wouldn't have been made. Now, I know all these characters are fictionalized, but the commentary is more on the people who actually impacted the film industry during that time and how they are now completely forgotten about. I mean, apart from Charlie Chaplin, very few people, especially the general public who don't watch movies all the time, know about really anyone from that era. But without them pushing forward cinema, it may not have existed like it does today, and that is what Chazelle wants to point out in this sequence, I believe. He used clips from A Trip to the Moon to Avatar because he wanted to showcase the largest margin of change, which is the way that technology is used in film. It shows a more drastic evolution compared to if he just did a whole bunch of drama films. They have merit too, and they have evolved in their storytelling. But he thinks, and I think as well, that the biggest and most significant change over 100 years has been technology, and that has evolved cinema in a lot of ways. And I think that was the best way to do it. The final shot of Manny crying as Singin' in the Rain is playing after this insane sequence was the perfect way to cap off this film as it snaps back to reality. Overall, I can't heap enough praise on Damien Chazelle. He is an important filmmaker in my life, and I appreciate so much of what he has done. As I said before, I think his filmography is as close to perfect as it gets. I only think First Man is his only film with any flaws, but I still think it is an excellent film. Whiplash, La La Land, and yes, Babylon are all perfect films in my eyes. They will be movies I rewatch a whole lot more. As I've said before, I have already seen Babylon twice in theaters, and I could honestly go a third time easily. Whiplash and La La Land I have seen probably more than any other movie, and the magic of his third acts are a big reason for that. No one in my eyes can end a film as good as he can. He pushes what is already a masterwork into the stratosphere with his endings. I hope I gave you some kind of context as to why he is really special in my eyes. It is really hard for me to put into words how much I actually enjoy his films, because they are just that high for me and they are beyond just heaping praise on. I'd like to know what your thoughts are towards his third acts, especially Babylon's, because I know some people really, really love it like myself, and some people really, really hate it, as I noticed with some people that were in one of my screenings. You won't be able to convince me not to like it, but I am just curious as to what you think. And if you love it and picked up some other things that I didn't mention, let me know. I'm just curious to really see what you think and what your thoughts are, so let me know in the comments below. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I also want to thank you for 300 subscribers. It is not a massive number in a lot of people's eyes, I know, but it means the absolute world to me, and to know that some of you out there are really enjoying my videos just means so much. So thank you very much for tuning in. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.